How's it, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I'm joined here by Chris Ferguson and Kat Valentine Cosplay in a segment which I'm going to be doing a lot more of convention recap. Specifically, we are going to be talking about Kat and Chris's experience for Kumori Con 2022. So to begin, how'd you guys like Kumori Con? Starting with Chris.
Well, okay, so let me just make a clarification first. I was a staffer. I was not involved in any of the decisions before con. I was an on-site volunteer mostly. My department was the programming booth. So if you saw anybody that was large and brown, marking um, the scavenger hunt boards or trying to give advice as best as possible, that was probably me. Um, So I don't speak for the convention. I don't speak for anyone other than myself. So let me get that out of the way. Uh, but you know, for me, it was pretty much fun. Got to help out with a pretty awesome show, all things considered, and we will get to all those considerations. And you know, and if you were there, I hope you had a great time. And if you weren't, I hope you come back next year because we hopefully will be better.
That's all anyone can hope for with a convention that's been going on what, 15 years now?
20.
Absolutely.
20 years. That's
20.
right. Oh,
Oh
that's
my
right. Yeah, that's
God.
right. This year was their
He can almost drink. Good job, Kumori Con.
that's right. It was I remember when I
He
interviewed.
can attend one of the late night panels.
Yeah, exactly. Good for her. We
That's
love
right.
to
I
see it.
remember it was Kumori Con's 20th year celebration this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember talking to one of the staff members at Medford when they were promoting the con. That was their 20th year celebration. Same question for you, Kat. How did you like Kumori Con this year?
I had a really good time
Mhm.
this year. This was my first uh big quote unquote con back since COVID stuff, even though that is obviously still ongoing. And I had a really, really good time. I had intended to go and do all these panels and do all this stuff. Um, but I just kind of realized, I kind of just need to take it easy. I just want to see all my pals who I haven't seen in forever and just catch up with everybody. And I really think I accomplished that. And I just had such a great time seeing so many friends and wandering the halls and talking with all the different con attendees and, just gushing about our various fandoms. And yeah, it just felt so, so good to be back in that environment. Just really, really around your people. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, like as Chris said, of course, like there were some blips. There are some issues. But we'll get into that.
Oh no,
But
we definitely
I, as an
will.
attendee, I had a very good time.
No, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it in your personal selves. I know from what I've seen online, and again, this is no hate to the con. I know ever since COVID, a lot of conventions, especially the bigger ones, are trying to get back to the way they used to be before the pandemic. And I'm sure you guys can agree with Kumori Con was doing the best they could this year.
Absolutely. I think their hearts were ultimately in the right place, but maybe not everything was as polished and thought through as it could have been. And I think, from my understanding, the con was understaffed. Not everybody was fully trained. So it was just kind of this perfect storm for what prominent issues there were, if that makes sense. Would you agree with that, Chris, or would you disagree as a staffer yourself?
Um, Partially. There were some things that were way outside the convention's control.
Gotcha.
We can go into specifics later, but
Okay.
um, pretty much, like, as hard as might be for some people to hear, the early parts of the con went about as well as could be expected.
Mhm.
But
That's
we'll go into the
super fair,
details for sure.
honestly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for
no.
sure.
And
That's
now,
a super fair takeaway.
no, I can't. I wholeheartedly Agree on that. Chris, did you volunteer or staff for all the days of the con, or just certain days,
I
or?
was there uh, day 0 through day 3. Yes.
Oh wow, so you definitely were you were definitely busy then, weren't you?
Staff were required to volunteer for 16 hours for the whole con.
Oh,
So
Oh
right, in order to get their
gee.
badge.
in order to qualify for the badge, yes.
Gotcha.
Oh man, imagine that goes for anyone who's volunteering or who is also doing press coverage as well, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Well, press coverage is their own thing. This is a volunteer requirement, and depending on how many shifts you're willing to work, it could be anywhere from 16 to 24. You might actually be sitting down at a somewhere and doing a job. So because
Uh
we were well, I'll just get into it. We were severely understaffed before we started the convention. Plus, we were losing people because they were testing positive at home.
Oh my God.
So we basically told them, don't come, stay away if you tested positive, even if you feel fine, because we don't want to take any risks on that end.
no.
Absolutely.
No, and I've heard stories about people coming to cons who tested positive and just everyone just getting sick afterwards. So
Yep, I've heard that
I'm
too.
glad you guys told your staff.
I experienced that. So,
Oh no, and I'm
but
Yeah,
glad
didn't that happen in 20
this
not
happened. This happened this year at Anime Los Angeles, but that was
Anime Los
back in
Angeles?
January.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm glad you
Okay,
guys
yeah.
told your staff, hey, if you're feeling sick, don't come. So, I can
Yes.
understand even just a regular job. If you're not feeling well, please stay home until you get feeling better. So I'm glad. Hopefully the people who weren't able to who were unable to volunteer this year, hopefully they feel a lot better so they can volunteer for next year so things can go a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it sounds like you guys did everything you could, not only to do right
Busted your
by the con
asses, I
itself,
have to say.
but by the people who were staffing. Because, you don't want to staff a con when you're really sick. It's going to be a miserable experience for everyone, and you're getting other people sick with a really nasty virus.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
Did you also happen to cosplay as well, Chris, while staffing for con this year?
Okay, so I use small cons like Kumori Con to experiment with potential ones. So I had a very, very, very rough Sisyphus from Katie's the Game on Sunday, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that good because I got some advice on how to sew my outfit and just completely ignored it till the very last minute, like every cosplayer on earth. And like all my props I found were not going to be suitable for the event itself because there are a lot of chains that are loose, and
Mm-hmm.
there were people having problems with things getting caught, uh, and the things interfering with other people, and so I had to ditch that at the last minute. I also brought
Gotcha.
out my Tonberry for a couple
Yes.
of moments.
Yes, iconic.
Uh, a side note, there's a very famous, infamous group called the Cosplay Wrestling Federation that had a had a panel at Kumori Con, and I got to participate in it this year. So
Nice.
How'd that go?
not as well as I would have hoped, personally speaking, but the show went
Oh
great.
no. Well, that's good. The show
I've
went
never,
well, though.
it seems like Komoricon's always, and that's that one thing I like about Komoricon. They're always having some kind of new thing going on, from their cosplay chess to a wrestling thing. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and
So
that's what I like too. There's a lot of variety.
yeah, I mean that's what a smaller, not quite big convention will let you have, is a lot of variety, a lot of things that have a chance to start and then grow into something else. So
Exactly.
on behalf of the group, we're grateful that the convention allowed us to allow the panel to happen. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of people. You know, it's not to get on a tangent, but there is a lot of crossover between professional wrestling and the various nerddoms. So
Absolutely.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Kat, what were your cosplays for this year? I know I kind of seen a little bit on your Facebook and Instagram. Mind telling us what cosplays you did on what days?
Yeah, of course. Let's see if I can remember. I have like half a brain cell going right now. If you hear my cat rattling around, I apologize. So on Friday, I was Sailor Venus. I specifically did the Fruit Maids variant. I don't know if anyone's familiar with like the art from that, but it's super cute. It's kind of like the Sailor Scouts reimagined, and these cute little like cafe maid outfits. So I did that and that was super fun. And then I got changed because I was actually in the lingerie show this year. And that was, oh my God, so scary, but really fun. Because I essentially was like, perceive me, but not for too long because I have crippling body dysmorphia. And I was Poison Ivy for that. And that was super, super fun. And Saturday, I debuted my Hannah Alexander Persephone design. And that went over so well. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who came up and talked to me or took my photo or was just like nice to me in general because I'm not used to like that much attention and kindness and I don't know what to do with all of this. So I just really appreciate it. And it means a lot because she's like a huge comfort character to me. So I'm glad that people like my cosplay, and like the character as much as I do. So yay. And then after I was done being a fancy girl, I just did like a very casual Persephone, where I literally just threw on like an Underworld Con hoodie and some booty shorts and called it good. And then Sunday I was Yona from Akatsuki no Yona. And that was super fun and super chill. And it was nice to like meet fellow Yona fans because it's like such a tiny fandom that is like kind of non-existent. But when you meet someone, it's like, oh yeah, you like the thing.
Nice.
Well, let me just add on behalf of the programming staff, we apologize for all the photos you did have to take because both your Sailor Venus and Persephone were part of the scavenger hunt this year. So
Oh no, it's okay. I'm totally okay with that. I'm like, whoa, this is nice. I'm not used to all this attention, but it's kind of nice. Okay, okay. So yeah. It was really fun and I appreciate it, honestly. Thank you.
Well, it's nice to know that to see your cosplays get that much recognition for the con this year.
Yeah. I'm definitely not used to it, so it was super, super nice and it made me very happy. I felt very humbled. So that was a very nice feeling.
Nice. So Chris, back to you. So what exactly did you do as a staff member for con this year?
okay, so my position was part of the programming booth, which basically we were in charge of checking IDs for the 18 plus panels. Basically, I got to stamp people's wrists, arms, shoulders, foreheads, for like an age check thing. And then it was also letting people know where panels where different things around the convention were, basically stationary guides, if that makes sense.
It does.
Mhm.
And it just basically just sitting down and chilling and relaxing as much as possible. So
Hey, I mean, with big cons like that, anytime you get a chance to sit down and relax is probably a good thing. I've never heard of
Yes.
I've never heard of a con that has like a family friendly con have 18 plus panels. What are those usually entail?
Um,
well, those are usually, pardon me, after 8 p.m. when we have things like the cosplay rave.
yes,
We
correct.
have panels that have hosts that are a little more freer with their language.
Mhm.
Kind of like the podcast that we do here.
Yes.
Fuck yes.
I,
You'll have
I,
you'll have to
I,
bleep that
I,
out, I'm
I,
sure.
I allow one since this is kind of a PG-13 podcast, not like geeking out or the gaming one. I will allow one F word from both of you.
That's fair. Can I say my F word now?
Did you just say it?
Oh, damn it, I did.
Yes, yes, yeah. You only
Ah,
get everybody gets one
that's
on
fair.
cosplay con talk. But
And we also had like an 18 plus lingerie show.
Yeah.
There were some there were some like I think there were some screenings that had to be age checked,
Mhm.
things
that
like
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
I'm sure some people try to sneak their underage friends into these panels and lingerie shows.
Oh, of
Mm.
course, because there's always going to be like those horny little teenagers who, want to see titties or like some yaoi or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember years ago I had some teenagers come up to me and I was doing an 18 plus panel and they were like, "Can you like try to sneak us in?" And I'm like, "No. You're children. You need to go home and do your
You don't need to
homework."
be exposed to this, and even though I'm sure you watch stuff like Boku no
Exactly.
Pico at home.
Exactly.
I am
Like
so,
just go read your yaoi fanfics at home, sweetie, like the rest of us.
You were about to say, Chris?
I'm sorry, guys. Google is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
You know,
It is.
exactly.
you know,
You
I'm not
can
gonna.
wait until you're older to see real titties.
It wasn't even that. It was like, you know,
Cleavage.
Mm.
oh no, cleavage, and someone's legally, allowed to wear a tea back on in the.
Oh no.
God.
So scandalous.
I mean,
And I'll just say this: the convention did have a coverage policy.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, a
Correct.
lot of conventions do, unless it's like EchiCon in Texas or the Waifu Expo.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, and it was, and again, it was just, can you please at least while you're like around the kids, put some shorts on, and then like afterwards, maybe you might be able to get away with taking them off, but like, no one needs to see that much cheek in
I
but
totally
that's a
understand
side
that.
story. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I mean, like
you're fine.
I'm definitely not against people like showing off the goods, but I feel like maybe a good compromise for family-friendly conventions is have like maybe more stricter dress codes for the first half of the convention, then maybe
Well,
after 8 p.m. that eases up so the
well,
adults can kind of have their
I'll give
fun.
you an example from last year.
Mhm.
Demon Slayer Inosuke.
Yes,
We had
correct.
a guy who went shirtless about halfway through
Uh-huh.
and was told to leave
Why?
because you cannot have nipples exposed.
Oh my God, that's right. I forgot that was a thing. Yeah, because
Yeah,
they're trying to make it equal, right? Because they don't want,
even if
female or male nipples.
you're
Yes.
a female cosplayer wearing that fake muscle chest, you still have to cover up those nipples too, even though you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
tell it's
the
a
meat
silicone chest.
knots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he got upset, so he left, came back with duct tape.
Hey, you know
Was
what?
was was, was
Adapt,
told
improvise, overcome.
It works.
was told to leave again because
Why?
now he's uh now he's just needling us, trying to find out like where the limit is where he can get away with it. So
That,
the next day
I'm
he
gonna be
shows
honest,
up.
that's a little bullshit. He's within the regulations.
It was it wasn't my call because
Right.
but
Obviously, yeah.
so the next day he comes back with a censored bar.
Oh, I love this guy. We
Oh
stand.
But
man.
but the thing is that it didn't hang properly, so he
Oh
was still in
no.
violation. And
Oh,
by this time he had pissed off some higher ups in the pecking order, and was
Mm.
again,
just basically
Kumori
told,
Con, we're not bashing you, by the way.
We
yeah.
love you.
Don't
But
hate
he was
us.
just basically told, don't come back.
Ooh,
Oh,
he basically got
He
banned.
he got kicked for that con.
Ooh,
I don't know if he came back, but
like
oof.
kicked for the day or like a
like
ban ban?
the rest of the
So
weekend.
basically, he got banned just for
Ooh,
that one damn.
Yeah, it's and it's not like
man.
it's
What a legend.
that's one way to look at it.
Oh yeah. Oh
The other,
man.
the other way, and I'll be perfectly honest, put a tank top on. You know,
Or
that's all we're asking, or something.
or what most when a female cosplayers do a gender bend version of Nosuke, they'll wear like the bandage wrap things around their chest.
Something, anything, but you know, he just had to test it because he was such a dude bro. And they had enough.
Oh, no, I get it.
You know, I admire his tenacity, even though he was being like kind of a cheeky asshole. Like it still is kind of funny, honestly. And I'm like, a part of me admires that.
A year later, it's funny, but
Oh, for sure. Like it's got to be a nightmare for you guys at the time, though. But it's still kind of funny.
Speaking of staff dealing with a bunch of crazy shit, again, I'm not. This is no disrespect to the con, but and I'm not gonna name any names. I'm not gonna name any. Name any fingers or point at whatever.
Mhm.
I heard day one just trying to get into the con was an utter nightmare from people having to wait almost like a good chunk of the day just to get into the con, only to find out that the marketplace is closed and they only have 2 hours left of the con. Since a lot of people only could go for one day from what I saw.
Okay, so
Basically,
what happened?
give us the tea, Chris.
From what you can.
Okay,
Oh yes, of course.
We have an on-site testing partner. The convention center does.
Mhm.
They usually run about 50 tests every half hour, 15 minutes or so. They ran out really fast.
Yeah, I heard
Oh my
like
gosh.
over 2,000 people. Like from what I saw, again, I saw a bunch of mixed things. Like 2,000 people were trying to get in all at once.
Yeah, there were a lot of
Yep.
people who showed that facility closed at 2:30,
Ooh.
and there were people coming in from school.
Okay, makes
Or
sense.
no, I shouldn't say that because it was a holiday, but
Oh, that's right.
there were people coming in after work at 5, and they could not get in. We were
Mm.
allowing some on-site COVID testing, but people were like taking the antigen test at home and bringing that in, and that
Yeah, and
wasn't
you guys
allowed.
don't allow that, right? Yeah.
We couldn't allow that because
It's
that could
not
have
as
been from like a
accurate.
week ago.
Yeah.
I know, and I totally get that. You want actual like physical,
Absolutely.
you want physical proof that they're in line, doing the nose
So
thing, and
so
Yeah.
there were a lot of people who understandably were upset that they couldn't get in.
Oh, for sure.
Also, we were having technical issues with registration, so we had to close the doors and cut off had a hard cutoff.
I heard there was a cap. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I heard that you
it
guys
was
had to close the door like a
it
little
wasn't
bit earlier
it
than
wasn't a
expected.
cap. It was like there were people trying to get in line like election day.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's like, no, this is the line. Everybody else come back tomorrow. We're sorry.
Mm.
And that's all you really
Oh,
can.
man.
That's all you really, to anyone watching or listening, for both staff and attendees, mainly attendees, like it sucks from what I saw. Like I felt bad for those who couldn't get in, but I also felt bad for the staff who were
For sure.
doing the best they can, running around trying to get, pre-registration, the COVID test, trying to have people come in and enjoy the day. And, as mentioned, not everyone can go in on day 0 to get their pre-registration, so they don't have to wait 6 to 7 hours in line.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I'm just gonna say this because someone needs to say it.
Mhm.
This policy was announced a month ago. Every
I
attendee,
remember that it was announced October 10th, I think.
yes, it was announced a
Yes.
month ago or a month prior.
And it was
You
posted
had
everywhere. So like
it was sent to everyone's email.
Mhm.
It was sent to everyone. It was on the website.
Eh,
It was on every social media, repeated several times. It's
Yes.
in the books. It was outside on the signage. The only way you could realistically say I didn't know what the regulations were is if you were completely oblivious to everything.
Yeah, if you lived under a rock.
Which does, I mean, it does happen because not everyone does. Not everyone goes onto the Kumori Con website, and I think also people had the expectation of, the numbers and COVID cases are dropping, so there's not gonna, because there are people who will assume that.
But
For sure.
but all the regulations were on those things, and
I believe it. No, I'm not
it's
doubting
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
I mean, if you needed to check the website for, like, say, registering for, say, an escape room or a free autograph,
Mhm.
the first thing that's listed in a big different color these are our COVID regulations. So you had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to check these things. And to just come
Exactly.
in and just say, well, I didn't know any of this, it's like,
Sorry you can't read.
I'm sorry you don't take 5 minutes to read these things.
Yeah.
And
And it's not just attendees. We had some staff who you know basically said, well, I don't, uh okay, like, one of the regulations was you had to have your most recent booster within the past calendar year.
yeah, I think what, like,
Yes.
November 21st of 2021, I think it was,
No, it was November 11
of last year. I remember, yeah,
of last
I
year. It was
remember
a,
seeing, I
a
Yeah,
full
remember
that
seeing,
a
sounds
full
right.
calendar year.
I remember seeing that on their website because
Correct.
I was looking when I was like looking at press coverage, even though I don't go this year. That was like one of the things I was looking at. Like, you have to have this, and you're good. And you have to have you have to have that proof of like the physical card, not a PDF. I don't know.
No, you could have a picture of it. It just
Hmm,
had to match an ID.
gotcha.
Exactly.
But again, it's like, if you didn't bother to read this, it's you can't blame anybody else. And
Exactly.
there was a lot of that going on.
No,
Yeah,
again, I heard the stories. I'm not going to say any names.
exactly.
I'm not trying to bring down anyone who couldn't get in. I'm not trying to bring down the con itself. But
Hmm.
I will say though, it's better. It's just in case, even though there may not be these as much regulations next year, it doesn't always hurt to prepare just in case.
And
Yeah,
on a,
you hit
like,
the nail right on the head.
it's like, on a related note, say, like, somebody comes, because we've had a few people ask about, like, oh, I've got this costume and I've got this airsoft gun that I paid a lot of money for, and I want to bring it as a prop. And it's like, no, well,
Mm.
it can't fire, so it has to be permanently disabled, and it can't, you know, it, it has to be recognizable from at least 10 feet away that it's fake.
Mhm.
Which usually means that big orange cap at the tip, and a few other things.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And we have these privileged, I'll just say it, privileged people who are like, but I paid a lot of money for it, and I actually use this thing.
I think you mean Karen's, Chris.
No, because this goes the entire human spectrum.
That's super fair.
Yeah. So, these entitled people, you tell them, like, no, these are the regulations. You need to follow them. Well, that's not
Exactly, for
fair. I'm
sure.
like,
It's plenty fair.
it's plenty fair because no one wants to get shot.
No,
Yeah.
and there was an incident a few years ago at a con in Arizona where a guy snuck past through con security and almost shot one of the special guests. Not saying the name, not saying who it
Mhm.
was, but even Kumori Con, I'm sure, just in general, they have their restrictions. Again, this year was their mask restriction. Yes, I know COVID cases all over Oregon are down, and I'm not trying to get okay, I'm not trying to get too political here,
Yeah.
but this con was looking after the well-being of not just their staff members but their attendees, which I'm glad to have someone who was a staff and someone who was an attendee on here to let people know, hey, yeah, it sucked, but if we wanted to go to the con or attend it, we had to follow these rules.
Yeah. And
Exactly. And if it bothers you that much, email the staff. Like, I'm gonna be a little rude here for a moment. It's rude girl hours. So if you do not like the regulations, you need to email the staff. You need to plead your case. There are proper steps you can take to try to make change, because KomoriCon, out of the vast majority of cons I have attended, is one of the better cons about listening to what their attendees have to say and taking that into mind and trying to make changes. Bitching about it on social media, well,
It
yes,
only
it's
gets you
therapeutic.
it only
It's
gets
not going to
you
make that big of a
it
change.
only gets you so
And
far though.
exactly. And like, you don't need to be mean to the staffers. Like, you're just causing a scene. You can email people. There are so many better ways to handle things if it bothers you.
And the con's doing the best they can to put out the fires from this year,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Yeah. So
Um,
what I'm trying to say is, like, don't be mean to the staffers, and there's better ways to handle things. So don't be a Karen.
true.
And you know, and to be fair, there were a fair number of staffers who were frustrated.
Oh,
I don't blame them at all.
Frustrated for the convention, for the attendees.
I get it, because there's like
Our hands, just sometimes our hands are tied.
there wasn't a whole lot of
Exactly.
there wasn't a whole lot
One of my
of,
roommates was a
staff members,
staffer and was like telling me horror stories at
which
the end of the day.
which we will get into your guys' horror stories for this year's con.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. A lot of ever since post COVID, because it has been talked about in a previous podcast called how COVID changed the con scene. A lot of staff members had to, even this one, I'm sure you had a lot of staff members who had to back out at last minute because they weren't feeling well, or just because whatever random reason.
We had, like I said, we had about 10% test positive,
Ooh.
like within 2 days before the convention, and you know,
it happens. There's nothing that can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's better to have less staff than have 6 staff.
Exactly, because then there's that chance that the con could have been easily shut down for this year too. Is the thing. So you got to look at it both. You got to look at it both ways, not just half full. You got to look. Okay, well maybe the staff was sick, and then I'm not. Again, I remember I've been seeing posts about how people said, well, just apply for just apply for a volunteer for next year. It's like some people don't want to volunteer because they want to experience the full con.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, you know,
there's valid arguments on both
sides. There is a certain degree of truth to you don't know what it's like until you step into their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a certain type of person to be a staffer at a convention. You have to be able to listen to somebody, even if they're having like a really bad day, and just be sympathetic. Even if the answer you have for them is negative. Yes. Sometimes they just want to vent, and you just have to, sit there and nod your head and take it. And that's at the lowest level of fan interaction.
Yeah, you have to have like a base level of empathy for others, for sure.
Yeah, totally weird. Okay. Anyway, to get past that part now, I want to talk about some of the fun experiences you guys had. Starting with Kat, what were some of your favorite con moments from this year?
Oh my gosh. I had a lot. I'm trying to think of like the best ones. Oh man. Honestly, I think just interacting with everyone. I'm sorry, my cat keeps trying to get in. Luna, you did not go to Kumori Con. You cannot be in this podcast, baby. I'm sorry.
But I want to be.
But I'm big and important and special. Yeah. So I had, oh my gosh, it was just the cutest, sweetest moment on Saturday. I was taking photos with one of my friends, and this mom and her kids come up to me, and this little teeny tiny girl dressed as Anya from Spy Family comes up to me and she goes, "Can I take your picture?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, yes, you absolutely can." And her mom's like, "Oh, be careful, don't step on her dress." And so we're taking a picture together, and she goes, "You look so pretty. You look like a princess." And she runs back and like hides behind her mom. And I'm like, "Oh my God, you are the cutest thing."
I imagine that made your con experience a lot more better.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was.
Anything interesting in the merch booth, by the way?
Wait,
he
what?
was just so cute.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were done. Anything interesting in the exhibit hall?
In the exhibit hall? Oh man, there was a lot of cool stuff in the exhibit hall this year. I feel like Kumori in particular, every year I go, I feel like I always see something really cool and different, which is something I really, really appreciate about the Kumori market in general. So this year, I remember seeing there was like a really cool like hair tinseling station, which I
what?
like hair tinseling, where there's someone who can tie like little pieces of like tinsel in your wigs or your hair and make them like
so cool,
all sparkly. And I just thought that was really cool. And the last year I went to Kumo, which was 2019, there was actually someone doing like nerdy tattoos, which I thought was awesome. Yes, it was great. And I'm like, oh man.
Oh, I wish I wasn't such a little bitch with needles. I want one.
Oh wait, so it was
Um,
it was an actual like needle
oh,
like tattoo.
oh yeah, like legit tattoo, like a legit he had like a setup. It was awesome. Wild Bill Soda
I
was
saw
there,
that.
which
I
was
was
cool. Oh, I'm
okay.
sorry. I said
That's two. We
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't have a good filter. Um yeah, there was this really awesome booth, an artist alley that was selling these beautiful, like handcrafted, like little, like sculpted dragons with these little resin eyes. Some of them were like little holders for like pens and paper clips and stuff, and others were like magnets. I thought that was super cute. And there was actually a lot of like indie clothing brands and several like indie Lolita brands this year, which was really great to see because I feel like you don't see very much of that at other cons in the area. So it was really awesome to see here. You know, we love supporting local businesses.
nice. Well, from the pictures I've seen on Instagram, not just from the Kumori Con, but anyone who attended, it looks like there was a lot going on, especially the Wild Bill Soda, which is always nice to see, which I've been
Oh yeah.
recently seeing since 2019 icons.
Yes.
Chris,
Oh, there was also a shaved ice station, which I was very excited about. Okay, I'm
I,
sorry. I'll be
There were
quiet now.
several. The Hawaiian Calypso one.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
it was so fun.
my station was like right next to one, so I had to hear all that music.
oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh man, you must have been partying.
Oh,
Chris, any fun experiences that you would like to share from Kumori Con this year?
I think I've already mentioned it, but I was part of the first a cosplay wrestling federation little group with my Tonberry costume. If anyone's familiar with professional wrestling right now, there was a character named Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who is this snobby, lazy, takes all the shortcuts, classic wrestling heel. And
Nice.
I did a version of my Tonberry as Maxwell Jacob Tonberry.
Nice.
So
I can't wait
and
to see
now
pictures of that.
That's
now
so cool.
cosplay wrestling is basically it's all the promos but none of the physical contact, and it's judged on audience reaction. And there were some nerves because we didn't get a confirmation on the panel until a week before, and
Ooh,
so we're scrambling to find
that's
participants.
that's very last
Yeah,
minute right
that's
there.
We're scrambling to find participants. We're hoping that people are familiar enough with this to
for
come
sure.
in, and we had a pretty good crowd. They were very loud.
Oh yeah.
I believe it.
Since this was my first time participating, I didn't get to do a whole lot. But I did manage to make the crowd boo me boo by basically saying how average and normal Portland really is.
Oh, I
Keep
think you've
Portland
made
weird.
some
No,
enemies.
Portland
Oh
needs to get weird first.
Below the belt, but I mean,
no. Oof.
oh man.
Is that like
Going for the kneecaps.
my opening line was basically, "You're gonna call Portland weird? I'm sorry. Yes, Portland has more breweries and more adult entertainment facilities than anywhere else in the world per capita. That's not weird. People like to get drunk and like to see things naked. Okay, that's average everywhere." And
Oh man.
Yeah.
and that
All
that,
right,
that got me
that's three,
booed a
Cat.
I'm
lot.
sorry. I'm sorry.
You're marked at 3.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. But was this the first was this a first time thing for Kumori Con having that
Yeah,
wrestling
it's a
thing?
first time thing. Yeah, it's been going on in like Anime Los Angeles, Anime Expo,
Yeah,
and around the country now.
The bigger cons I have seen online of that.
Yeah,
Well, that's
they
cool.
were they were at SakuraCon this year. They've been branching out a lot. They're trying to expand this to be like a nationwide thing.
I'm hoping
That's
hopefully
awesome.
they're next year because that's as I said always I plan on going next year.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh,
something
I can't wait to see you next
that's
year.
something I want to try to see, and if not, if I can try to apply for a press coverage for next year as well.
Yes.
So I got to participate in that, and yeah, like I try to keep my cosplays for small cons like this to like basically test features and just see how they would fit in an environment. So day 2, I did, my version of Gomez Adams from Adams Family, the new, Netflix series.
Nice.
Yes.
Because I have my hair cut like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Rock in that big long turtleneck.
Yep.
Oh my
I've
god.
so I've got my hair
Yes,
like
I
that.
love it.
You
And
got you. I got to see pictures of this.
Yeah, so when you gonna cosplay that, Chris?
No, I tried it, but I didn't put a whole lot of emphasis because I didn't have the pomade to get my hair down slick like
How he has it like
Louis Guzman.
like how he has like.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
it's
I
like that
understand.
strong part in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
And then there was another. There
It's
was
a
a
thought that
couple. There
counts.
was a couple walking around as Gomez and
Morticia.
Morticia, but he had the
Cute.
but he had the like the more the fine pinstripes.
Oh,
Mhm.
like the Raul Julia outfit.
Yes.
Pretty
Oh,
much. So
God rest his soul.
yeah. So, but so cosplay wise, that's pretty much what I focused on. It's really kind of hard to like because I have to take TriMet to get up there to the convention center,
Ooh,
and walking
yeah, that's
around
rough.
walking around in a in a full costume on the trams is not recommended.
Yep. Nope.
This is not San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, no.
I can imagine a guy in a Reinhardt cosplay trying to get into a tram to go to Kumori Con.
Oh my God. He would take up like half a car.
Oh, I believe he would need a car he just need one car for himself.
He really would.
I also heard there was an escape room this year. Did any of you try the escape room this year for con?
I was working and I don't do those sorts of things, but yeah, there was and there were some difficulties in getting registered because it wasn't set up, but
I
we
heard.
had alternatives available, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you
working.
guys were able to. From what I've seen and from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you guys were trying to accommodate for those who couldn't get to the thing on time or those who weren't able to, go on the first day. Which I'm glad you guys were able to.
Exactly. You did the best with what you could, and I think that that's great, honestly. So hats off to you and like all the other staffers for, making the
Making
quote I'm trying to say
turning
is
lemons into lemonade.
yes. Yes, thank you,
Mhm.
Wayne.
I mean, I have to commend this again. If any staff is watching this, I do have to commend you. And again,
We love you.
Any funny experiences cosplay? Because I guess because I also want to talk about the cosplays you did, which again we will be talking in a future podcast about your cosplay lineup from 2022. Anyone, Kat, did you have any cosplay mishaps for Kumori Con this year?
Yes. I'm trying to think of what's appropriate.
Well, as long as you keep your F-bombs to a 0.
Yeah,
I'm
because
sorry.
you're at 3 right now.
I know.
Chris is only at 1.
I know. I'm so bad. I'm just so bad. I know I definitely had some mishaps with the straps on my sandals for Persephone on Saturday.
And you made those
But
yourself, right?
huh?
You did the sandals yourself, right?
Yeah, I made the sandals myself. Um and so I think my mistake was when I did my initial test, I had done them on my bare skin and they held up great.
But then you had the foot sock things.
Yeah, I had the tights, and so I think there was a little bit of friction there. And I think I also just didn't do them tight enough. So I think it was a mix of those two things. So I think next time I need to do them tighter and I need to knot it a little bit differently. Um, but there were a couple times where I did have to stop and fix them. But thankfully it wasn't something that was happening like every step I took, but just like every couple of hours I had to go and fix them up. Um, but I think that was like the big cosplay mishap other than like with my crown having to try to be conscious to not stab anybody. Yeah, I did accidentally like poke one of my friends and I feel terrible. And Ben, if you hear this, I am so sorry. Um, yeah, but those were like the big things other than like trying to keep, things where they need to be.
It sounds like she was a
For
really big
shoots.
cosplay for you this year.
Yeah, she was like the big thing on Saturday. I literally had people coming up to me on Friday and they're like, "What are you doing, Persephone? What are you doing, Persephone? Oh my God, I want to see it. Oh my God." Ah. And I'm like, "Oh, it's going to be Saturday. Everybody calm down."
Go your tits, everybody.
Exactly, literally. Put your titties away. I don't have enough dollar bills. Yeah. But that was like the big cosplay this year. And so I had a lot of fun with that.
Nice.
But she held up pretty well. I honestly was expecting there to be way more costume malfunctions with her than there actually were, so that I feel very good about my craftsmanship with that. So
When I saw
yay.
your photos, like, oh my God. Well, the one thing that raced through my mind when I saw that's like, oh God, I hope the flowers don't fall off the dress.
They're stuck on there pretty well. So the way that I did it to have a little craftsmanship corner moment. Okay. So what I did was the fabric that they're on is this really pretty sparkly mesh. And so I would lay down the mesh on parchment paper. And then I would put glue on the flower, like hot glue on the flowers, and then I would stick them on there and I would let it cool. And when I peeled it up, some of the glue kind of went through and created kind of this seal around the bottom of the flower and the mesh. So they're like stuck on there for good. They're not going anywhere. So unless it becomes like 200 degrees suddenly and everything melts, they are like on there forever. And thankfully, I have not lost any flowers. So, yay!
Nice. Chris, same question. Any cosplay mishaps of any sort for you at Kumo this year?
Not for me in particular, because because of the mask requirements, I couldn't have my Tandoori hood on all the time.
That's right. Only if I remember
Yeah.
I remember seeing the thing how you can only have like your helmet or anything on for pictures, but once the picture's taken, you have to take it off again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is such a bummer, but I get it.
and that thing needs to be replaced anyway, so I have to.
Mm.
So it's not on its last legs, but it's getting close to it.
Totally understandable though. So another favorite thing I always like to ask, because Kat's familiar with this, and Chris, if you listen to any other convention horror stories, were there any convention horror stories for this year for Kumo? Who wants to go first?
Horror stories. I mean, besides the long line and
Yeah, no, I mean I think the longest I ever had to wait on the line was almost like 2 hours, and that was to get an autograph from Roger Craig Smith from a free autograph line. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know people who have waited days in line for things at San Diego Comic-Con. So like,
Oh gosh.
I hear people like, oh, we had to wait an hour to get inside. I'm like, please.
that's nothing.
Amateurs.
An hour at a small con, I can understand. An hour at a big con, that's really nothing.
Not so much horror stories. It's just like,
Staff got dragged through the mud this year from
staff
what I've
got dragged
heard.
through the mud.
Mhm.
Mud, dirt, kicked, yelled at, screamed, punched, blood, crying, tears. What?
A staffer
I-
actually did get pushed down the elevator because someone was mad about the COVID.
I heard
protocols.
I heard a staff member got pushed down an escalator. Yes.
Yes,
that
I
is- and
have
that
other
is-
staffer friends who have confirmed this,
That is
unfortunately.
not okay. I get you're mad about the COVID restrictions and everything,
Yeah.
but that does not give you
You
the
don't
right
get to assault people.
That doesn't
Do
give
better.
that doesn't give you the right to be physical with a staff member or
Yeah,
just anyone in general at a con.
Exactly. Just don't be an asshole.
And
If I ever find out who that person is, I'm gonna
no.
yell at you.
No,
we had
we don't condone violence on here, by the way.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of people. We had to have the N95 and those equivalent masks,
And a lot of people made a good use of those to go with their cosplays.
right? But we also had white ones available for people who just couldn't who either forgot their masks or didn't have
Which
the
I
right
think was
one.
really nice of you guys to provide, because I know that was like the biggest question people were asking. You guys gonna have enough N95 masks for everybody?
And
Yeah.
I left halfway through Sunday, so I know we had plenty left. So
Wow.
So thanks to everybody who brought theirs, and you're welcome to everybody who made use of them. No, we had more than a few people who just they're trying. They want to ask you a question, and you have to say you need to put a mask on before I can answer that.
For
And
sure.
they would get really like how dare you tell me I'm a grown ass human being? You can't.
The frustration is understandable, but at the same time, you're an adult.
It's more the entitlement
Yeah,
thing.
go change your diaper.
Yeah.
Oh,
That and just the complete lack of anything to eat around the area. But
I heard that there wasn't a whole
Yeah.
lot.
The the vendors inside the hall, I didn't see a lot of long lines, but then again, like I was eating big breakfasts and like trying to get through at least my part of the day, so I could eat at home. So, but yeah, I mean, it would be nice if say there were more places in Lloyd Center to eat, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah. Honestly, my biggest complaint about Kumori Con, like, I guess my ongoing complaint is the location, but also there's not really anywhere else in Portland for them to hold a con of this size. But there's just not a whole lot of places nearby to eat. Your hotel options are
because
very limited, and some
There,
of them
there's
are
no,
pretty sketchy.
there's no food vendors at the con, like food trucks.
there are no
There's
food.
some,
There's no
but
food.
they're really f***ing expensive, and one of my friends
That's
got
for
food
cat.
poisoning
That's
'cause
for.
they.
That's for
Four.
no more.
I
I'm
caught that one.
sorry. I'm
You
sorry.
are banned.
You're
Uh,
banned till the next podcast.
Don't make me bring out the spray bottle.
One of my friends got food poisoning because someone undercooked her chicken, and that's from like the restaurants within the convention center. So I really wish there was more options that weren't overpriced and undercooking people's food. You know?
I mean, I can't really defend. I get, the demand. There are people waiting in line. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
horror stories, cat. Any
Okay.
convention horror stories for Komori? Again, Komori Con, we are not bashing you. Do not
Exactly.
do not take this in any offensive way, because I know everyone will have their different experience with the con, and so far the comments on here for this recap have been fairly positive.
Hmm.
Ish.
Like, yeah, like just want to say overall, like I really enjoyed the con. I had a very good time, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to go back next year. But as far as horror stories go, like aside from the really long lines, I got really lucky. There wasn't a whole lot of really big issues this year.
You must have gone on day 0 then to get your pass.
Yeah, I went on day 0, but I always try to go on day 0 if I can. Even then, there was a pretty long line. But it was nowhere
Near
near the
Fridays.
horror that was Friday or Saturday or Sunday, but Friday was by far the worst.
I believe it. First day of con, no one
Oh,
can get no one can
absolutely.
get no one
Absolutely.
can get their badge on day 0. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if you have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, and
And
it is a convenience. Just
exactly. Yeah, my biggest advice to people who want to attend Kumori Con and cons in general, if you are able to, try to go day 0 to pick up your badge. If you can't, like, it's not the end of the world, but it is gonna make your con going experience a lot more pleasant. But that's just my advice. But as far as horror stories go, I'd say like the most horror story that I had was um not even necessarily like the con's fault. It's more of like attendees just like not being the greatest. Like most of my experiences have been pretty positive. But there were like some instances I was like chatting with some friends, and there was this guy like kind of off in the distance, kind of trying to like add himself to like our group that was chatting. And I was like, okay, not a problem. Yeah, you can like chat with us, dude. We have no problem with that. But he didn't say anything. He literally just stood there and
That's
didn't
not
talk
creepy.
to us
That's not creepy at
and
all.
like gave us the 1,000-yard stare. And at first I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's just really shy. Maybe he just doesn't know how to contribute to the conversation. Okay, I understand him completely. I've been there. But this went on for half an hour. And at this point, I'm like, I am very uncomfortable. And this guy is giving us like the 1,000-yard stare. I'm just like, I don't know what to do because I don't want to hurt this guy's feelings and be like, I don't know you. Can you fucking leave? Oh, I'm sorry.
Cat,
5.
Ray.
I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna put a counter all the times you said the F word.
I'm like, that's super fair. Like he did eventually go, but it was just very, very uncomfortable. And I'm sure he was probably just very socially awkward and like wanted to like chat, but I wish he would have like said something and not just stared and tried to like force his way into the group because that was uncomfortable for everybody. Um, and I did have one girl like come up to me, and I didn't realize until later that like I think she was like a friend of a friend, but I didn't know her super well. And she made kind of a weird comment about my breasts. But like she apologized like immediately when I was like, wait a minute, what? And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, you're fine. But that was like maybe the most horror story things that happened. But other than that, like it was pretty good year. We had a very good time. Yeah. What about you, Chris? What are your
I
stories?
think the long line and just the frustration with that, I think that overshadowed practically everything. I mean,
Yeah, I remember
Yes.
seeing literally it was Friday. I think it was what 2 p.m. I saw the Facebook page, the Facebook group, and Instagram on the Kumori Con, like comments were just flooded about the long lines. Like I waited
Yeah,
5
everyone's freaking
hours,
out.
I
I'm
waited
never
7 hours.
and
this is
and
the worst.
and again, it's like I'm sorry, I empathize, but you had a month to prepare for this, and
Oh,
Exactly.
even
I'm
when
sorry you can't read, Karen.
even when they announced it a month ago, a lot of people weren't too happy about it.
Yeah, and I
and
understand both sides. I really do. But Kumori Con's heart is ultimately in the right place, and they're just trying to keep people safe. And a lot of cons
I'll
aren't.
just go into the like not so much the heart or the heart's in the right place. These are the rules.
Yes.
Yes, it's different than it was a few years ago. A few years ago, we didn't have this thing that's hovering over all of us.
It's
Exactly.
it's definitely made a lot
adapt. You need to adapt. You need to adjust. You need to follow the rules, because the stuff that you were getting away with 10 years ago is not going to fly anymore.
Exactly. As Bear Grylls says before he drinks his pee, adapt, improvise, overcome.
So I'm gonna ask you 2 separate questions. I'm gonna ask Chris a staff question, and then Kat an attendee question. So Chris, for the volunteers that weren't able to attend this year, anything you want to like say or anything?
Hopefully you'll get your stuff together and you'll come back next year. We could have used you, but because we certainly could have needed the help, but glad you stayed home and stayed safe, and
Get feeling better,
there's always
guys.
next year.
Hopefully that the volunteers who weren't able to make it this year, which is totally valid why they couldn't come, hopefully see you guys next year, and hopefully Kumori Con 2023, not 2024, will be semi better. You can't predict what's going to happen next year because you never know.
Did you want me to say that, or did you want to say it yourself?
Well, you can continue on. I didn't mean to step on your toes.
Well, you just said everything I was going to say anyway, so go ahead.
Sorry, force a habit. I didn't mean to step on.
Hey.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna bleep.
You're giving me shit for saying
I'm gonna
that
bleep
word.
that out. Anything? Okay, so let me reiterate that question. Any advice you want to give to anyone who wants to become a staff member for next year?
Okay, so go to the komoricon.org website, and there will be a place for staff applications. Go through the list. If you have any skills that lend itself to particular positions, try to apply. Obviously, priority is going to go towards senior staff and people who have a little more experience, but give it a shot. If you're going to, because there are some skills that you will learn at a con that will help in the job market. Yes, you're not going, yes, you will have to pay for your own hotel room at a discount. You may have to share it with some people if you want to make your money last longer. Yes, you only get a badge. Yes, you do have to put in some work during the con. But, there is a sense of pride. You will have a sense of pride if you put in some work behind the scenes. And most staff, most managers will give you the time to do the things you want to do. You want to see a panel, say, hey, I need this time off. You'll usually get it. I need some time to go do some karaoke. Sing away. But just be prepared. You're going to have to do some work, and you are going to have to deal with people who were like you the year before. So, but that's practically my advice to anybody who wants to do this. Sign up, give it a try. It's not for everybody, but at least you put in the effort, so you know what happens at least a little bit behind the scenes of the show, and that will always make your experience better.
I wholeheartedly agree. Plus, I think that would give people a better perspective on what the volunteers and staff have to go through if they're ever understaffed.
For sure.
And plus, you have the experience of being con staff for a very long time, so you know what it's like.
This is not my first rodeo. Let's put it that way.
Yeehaw.
There is a phrase in Penn and Teller used that involves Kat's favorite word this time, so I'm not going to say it.
No,
you gotta catch up to me, Chris.
I don't
Go
want
on,
to
say
bring
it.
out the spray bottle.
This is not my first goat orgy. Let's put it that way.
I can't be too. Hashtag goat orgy. Oh God. Anyway, Kat.
Hashtag not my first goat orgy. There we go.
I love it. Put that on a t-shirt.
Kat, God, please.
Same question. Advice for those, I guess, things you want to say for those who weren't able to make it this year. And I'm not going to interrupt you like I did Chris on accident.
No worries. Unless I say the F word right.
I'm literally going to have to buy an empty spray bottle just to. But yeah, for those who couldn't make it to the con this year, what would you like to say for those who couldn't make it this year, or who couldn't fully attend it because of all the stuff that was going on?
Right. I will say, you were definitely missed. And you will be welcomed with open arms next year. And we can't wait to see you. I guess my biggest advice for attending in the future, is if you're picking up your badge, definitely try to go day 0 if you can. It'll make your con going experience a lot better. Plus, if you're getting a hotel or something, that gives you a day to kind of settle in. So that way, when you wake up on Friday, you're all nice and refreshed and you can just get ready and go to the con. Wear deodorant, shower every day, drink lots of water. Don't get super drunk on Friday and then be hungover Saturday morning like me.
Kat.
I mean, I totally didn't do that. It wasn't that bad, honestly. I was like feeling a little funky for maybe 30, 45 minutes and I was fine. But yeah, drink lots of water. Make sure that you're like, if you're not getting like a full 3 square meals, make sure that you're at least eating a lot of snacks throughout the day. And when I say snacks, I am not talking about like sugary shit. I am talking about things that are actually decent for you, whether that be some apples or a granola bar or like some string cheese or just whatever you need. But make sure that you're putting things in your body to keep yourself going throughout the day. That's super, super important. Be nice to staffers and be nice to your fellow attendees. I cannot stress that enough. If you have any issues, of course, go to staff. And yeah, have a good time. Try to meet as many people as you can, see all your friends, try to attend the panels you can, all the panels you want to see. For really popular ones, try to get there maybe 20 to 30 minutes early so that you can line up and get a good seat, but try not to hover around too much because you don't want to block things off. Yeah. Be nice, be kind, be prepared. If you're cosplaying, test all of your stuff beforehand and make use of the cosplay station if you have malfunctions. Yeah. Be cool, stay safe. Don't do too many drugs.
Please don't do any drugs while you're
Yeah,
within the convention center.
No, we
Do them
not.
in your hotel room, not at the con.
We don't condone any of that. Just for anyone listening. Chris, any last minute thing you want to add in here before we end this podcast?
Yeah, I basically, we apologize to anybody who had any difficulty. Speaking of staff, if you had any difficulty on day 0 or day 1, just again, we're all trying our best. But things do happen, and we need to try to make the best out of all this. So again, thank you to everybody who was nice to staff members and understanding, and we hope we do better in 2023. Final thing would be November 17th to November 19th, 2023. I believe tickets will be on sale as soon as possible. So
Nice.
So check komoricon.org for any news, and join the social medias to let people know what happened. We have a Discord, we have Facebook, we have the website and the forums on that.
Their social media team is really great.
All
I
links
love
will be in
them.
the description below.
Yes.
Again, Kat, Chris, thank you for coming on to give both the perspective from a staff member point of view and an attendee point of view. And like they said, hopefully we can see you all. Well, they can see you all next year, and also be sure to be on the lookout for a Toneberry if you're ever at a con.
Of course. Thanks so much for having us, Wayne.
Of course.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Welcome. As always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening and thank you for watching.